Picture this, a system where teachers can lead from the classroom, a district that has identified teacher leaders, providing supports for their peers, making policy recommendations, a state that houses a network of teacher leaders who provide expertise to educators regionally or statewide. ESSA is giving us the opportunity to utilize Title II funds to create a better way. We are the Michigan Catalyst for Teacher Leadership. Our collaboration was born from our involvement in the Michigan Educator Voice Fellowship. We've seen the improvements that can arise from this model. Heather is just but one example of this working. Heather.
For the past 20 plus years, I have been teaching for special education, and recently my years were spent searching for PD on my own to improve and keep up with the change of education, especially in technology integration. I connected with a network of teachers, and this gave me my voice, gave me my connections, also a platform to actually create a PD website for technology integration. It was these 2 years that I was able to connect that catapulted me into being able to raise my voice and learn about policy and actually become a finalist for the U.S. Department of Ed Classroom Ambassador Fellowship. It renewed my energy to teach. It taught me better how to advocate for my students, and it also inspired other teachers. And so we want to grow this teacher leadership story. How can we do that? Kathy?
Well, because students deserve instruction that addresses their needs, and they need educators who can identify those needs, we're proposing that a student leadership framework will facilitate the advancement of classroom-driven and collaborative professional development. In addition, teacher leaders will cultivate opportunities to raise their voices with stakeholders to influence professional learning in the classroom. Matt will share what this will look like.
So it not only looks like those pretty faces you just saw, but it also looks like this cycle. It starts off with any good cycle of PD or bettering something. You start with inquiry-based instructional rounds, needs assessments, which are already being done in the state of Michigan. And then you have to have, at the center of it, a teacher leader who can actually break down that data. As you see here, the teacher will break that down, analyze it, make a plan, use the network of other teacher leaders to use the other folks that are similar to them to address that plan, put it into place, and then see how successful it is. And like any good cycle, it continues. So why are these teacher leaders built in a way that they're going to be listened to? Number one, they're going to meet at quarterly convenings where they not only learn best practices to apply to their classrooms, their school, and help other schools, but also how to address policy and policymakers. In addition, they're in a hybrid role where they don't leave the classroom, thus giving them legitimacy amongst their peers. So how are we going to do this at the local and state level?
Okay, at the local level, we need to complete those needs assessments. We also need to identify the teacher leaders, house the teacher leaders, and train them. And in Michigan, we already are completing those needs assessments. We just need to actually have a plan of what to do with those. At the state level, we need to be able to consult with the Department of Ed. We need to establish teacher leaders across the state and join forces, create the database, organize a convening, communicate with policymakers, and provide those examples of the hybrid roles, which I know already exist in other states. And in Michigan, we already are consulting with the Department of Ed. Our team actually is on the ESSA action team, and we are helping with the technology plan for the state.
So in closing, giving teachers the opportunity to grow and lead from the classroom can revolutionize professional development. It energizes us, it informs us, and it transforms us. We are the Michigan Catalyst for Teacher Leadership. Feel free to contact us to learn more about our story. Thank you very much.
So we'll have some feedback for you, beginning with Judge Hayes.
I love the way you began with picture this, because I think that in this time where we're trying to attract people to this profession, it seems visionary. You're looking forward. You're not really harking on all the mistakes that we've made or the things that have happened in the past, but looking forward to say, imagine us operating in these roles, which we know we've been operating in forever. And it seems like a novel idea. And it just kind of reminds me that it's just a great time to be a teacher. And the other thing that I love, and one of the things that has been missing, is that this provides the opportunity to provide feedback to policymakers. You know, there's so much conversation about elevating our voice and people hearing the message that we're trying to send, and I'm learning that people are listening. So in your plan, you're saying we're willing to open that dialogue and have a conversation and share what we already know with the people who are positioned to make decisions on behalf of students. So I love that. And then the clearinghouse of resources, I think oftentimes we do things in isolation. You have pockets of success, and to be able to share that out with teachers in your district, in your state, and then nationally, I feel like we've been reinventing the wheel for so long. When the information is right there, we just need a better way to share it.
I actually had some of the same comments. I think the novel and important concept on creating that avenue for feedback was great, and I love that you really thought about this from a perspective of continuous improvement and not some sort of a static process. So I thought those were some real strengths, and I want to thank you for clearly defining the role of the state as well. I think that's an important part of the process, so thank you.
The whys were very compelling to me up front. One of the whys said, because the current system, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but something about the current system isn't able to give teacher leadership opportunities or something like that. Be ready for somebody to ask you why we don't just fix the current system. Because I actually think this is a way to fix the current system, but the way the presentation came at me was like, well, the current system's broken, so we're going to go around it and do this thing. But I think if we just integrate this into what we're doing as part of the system, that might solve our problem. And also on your diagram, I think when you explained your diagram, I understood it, but maybe if you could have fewer words on it, I might understand it better. I'm sort of a simple person, and so I think once you explained it, I got it. So it's a good diagram. I think maybe fewer words there. So.
I would say ditto on the diagram. I didn't get it, but when you said it, I got it. I would also, echoing back to a comment on another group, is remember to link it to student outcome, like somehow this is affecting students, which you did a little bit, but I'd make that more specific. And secondly, there was mention of technology, a little bit about, I would just sort of blow that out, like blow it out. And then finally, there were some words that I think that if you weren't in this space, you might not know what does a hybrid role mean? So some of like the jargony words, I would just make sure for, regular people who might not know what that means.
Thank you very much. Definitely see how you all are catalysts for teacher leadership within your state. So appreciate those ideas. Lots to think about.